The commissioning approach. This is to begin with the end in mind. And the way in which we do this is represented in the simplified commissioning logic. This diagram is reproduced with grateful thanks to Martin Kilcross. We show this diagram in two slides, step 1 and step 2. Simplified commissioning logic. This is summarized in a sequence of steps. Steps 1 and 2, preparing. Steps 3 to 8, implementing. Steps 9 to 11, closing out. Preparation, steps 1 and 2. This is the recruiting and organizing of resources, gathering of information, developing schedules, producing documentation. Implementation, steps 3 to 8. This is commonly thought of as the doing phase, typically viewed as commissioning in quotes, but embraces activities prior to and subsequent to actual commissioning. Closing out, steps 9 to 11. This final phase will define how the project is perceived by those responsible to take custody and continue operations as the plant or facility goes into production. On completion of closing out, the commissioning team will demobilize. The influence curve. The influence curve overlaid on a typical project life cycle, shown how influence is greatest at the start of a project and diminishes to almost nothing as the project nears completion. The steps in the simplified commissioning logic are shown along the x-axis. It is no surprise that the majority of the steps take place in the early stages of the project when influence is at its highest. These are in FEED and DE, in front-end engineering design and detailed engineering. So the majority of the steps are actually taking place in the design offices before anyone has actually set foot on site. Steps 8 and 9 of the simplified commissioning logic take place during construction and commissioning, with steps 10 and 11 during the startup and closeout phases. So the majority of the activities taking place in the early stages of the project life cycle when influence is at its highest. The influence curve. The project life cycle and influence curve shown with the implementation of Xenator, or the Systems Completion Database as it's known in API RP1FSC, is shown on this graph. As you can see, the implementation of Xenator, or the Systems Completion Database, needs to take place from the very beginning of the project through the front-end engineering phase and detailed engineering all the way through till the final handover to operations. Early implementation of Xenator, or the Systems Completion Database, SCDB, from front-end engineering design and detailed engineering will ensure it is available for the essential activities to be performed as they are required. This is through FAT program, preservations, handovers from construction to commissioning, and all the various handovers from commissioning to operations, until the final handover to operations.